Hey there, my name is Carrie Palmer, and if you've ever heard me, seen me, you know I've been on a very random, strange, weird journey. That is over. Everything that I had to go through this journey for is kaput. It's done. I have finished. Every nugget that I needed to get came through, and there was a few leftover nuggets since when the book was finished, The Bridge, on June 7th. There have been since then like four or five big nuggets that didn't get in the book because they like wave this stuff in front of me. And it takes something that's going to put it into my context. And so once they do that, it's like, boom, everything comes through. So the last thing just came through last night and the night before last. And I wasn't ready for it. But since I came to Mount Shasta, every ability that I needed to have came through. I can't leave my body and I don't care. But the ability that developed in my last meditation, which I don't do that, showed me why so many of us are leaning towards thinking this is a virtual reality. Why we're getting to a space where we're like, oh my God, I'm a robot. And then you start believing it. I figured out, I'm going to cry. I figured out why it all came through the other night in a meditation. So, in this meditation, I was told, well, I don't meditate. I haven't meditated in years. My meditations didn't do anything. So, I've only done it the three times that I've been told to. So, the other day, I was tired. I was go, go, go. The weather was hot here. And so I was going to take a nap and I don't nap. And then I went and got, and I'm like, not in my bed. So somehow I was going to be on the couch. It didn't make sense. So I laid down, head up in this like prone kind of a meditation position. And I just laid there, allowing myself to doze off, which I did not. But boy, did something happen. So in this meditation, I saw everything, which I will get to that. Okay, so think about this. I'm an old woman, according to standards on this planet. You'll never see me believing that. So it's not going to happen to me. But when I was young, I watched shows like Bonanza, Lost in Space, Gilligan's Island. I just some of those. I Dream of Jeannie Bewitched. And it was back in the day when the husband went to work, the woman in her dress vacuumed, had lipstick on, the kids had to behave when the dad got home. And the dad, of course, had lipstick on his collar because these are roles we accepted. That's the rest of my work. I'm not going to go deep into that. But the stuff that was on television, the stuff that started on the radio, they used to gather around the radio for shows. It was the stuff that you could connect to in your reality. Like we had the Jetsons and Lost in Space, and it was prognosticating things that nobody had a clue any of the real details. So it was so out there, but boy, is it close. But it was just a dream for a lot of people. But the back stuff, the Bonanza, the all the old westerns, John Wayne movies, that was like in our history not that long ago, wagon trains and all of that. And so that was something that we could write shows about and make movies about. And so fast forward every generation, we got 80s music, we've got dancing movies, we've got MTV. We have all these new things that evolve as we evolve. So think about this, first of all. It's 2025 right now, right? The screen, the television, think about this. My former mother-in-law is like pushing 100. She was alive when the television was invented. People are alive today that were here when the thing was invented that we're all, and now look what we have, what we do with these things. So technology is woo. So we have followed it, we've gone all in. And so the thing that came through me yesterday is about what has happened. And since the TV was the screen we watched, and we watched shows based on the stuff in that era, and then the next era, then the next era. What if, and this is a deep question because I grew up technology without expectations, without college, without anything. My mom just said, go, or your dad will do the thing he always does. Hey, honey, see you later. So my life was not good, but I didn't know anything different. So I had to learn on my own everything that I've done my entire life. I had to work my way up. We had a phone, but it was on the wall with the 20-foot cord. And when it rang, it was for my sister, sometimes me. And you sat there and talked, and then you were done. You hung up, and then somebody else called. You had a party line. You shared your line. And then we advanced beyond that. And then I was alive and had a child when this handheld device with the screen came around. We were the crash test dummies for raising kids with these things, but we didn't know what to do. But to me, common sense was pretty much, like, let's not let anybody have too much because the TV did draw you in and you wanted more, but your mom wanted you out of the house. You only got like 2 hours or something with your sisters. So kids who have grown up with phones, who have always had them, and I know little kids that's dads were rich, and here you go, honey, play with that while we all party. So a lot of people have never had life without a phone. But what you did have inside was a dream. Something was that inside thing that revved your engine when nothing else could. Something you visualized yourself doing, that you prayed and hoped that maybe somehow you'd find the miracle that could help you get there, but knowing in your heart of hearts that the world that you're in and that world, the canyon's just too deep. You can't cross the bridge. Sound familiar? So the question that came through before I tell you what I got is, if you grew up without access, if you had that little fire in your belly that you had when you were little, and you were able to follow that, whatever it was, you let it go, you like followed the path, just like they did in The Alchemist. You follow the gut tug rather than what looks really good. It looks like it may have a cherry on top, then it's over, and then what? So if you follow the gut tug, the thing that happens when you're not connected to anything else, you find what I have found. And I had to go through absolute hell to write the book, but I'm done. And now I know answers that nobody knows. And I don't have the ability to put it all together. I have not looked back at any of this. It's been coming through nonstop until this nugget. And I know this nugget was the last nugget because yesterday, the dedication to the book came through. I am thanking the man who in 1994 invited me, out of all the people they knew in Montana, here we go, to join him and his group of 14 other people because two people had to drop out last minute. They waited 9 years for a trip to whitewater raft through the Grand Canyon. I showed up, and 3 weeks later, I was joining them in the Grand Canyon. That's how my life works. And so I found out yesterday because it made sense to me because I really connected on that trip. Boy, did I connect on that trip. I prayed after we lost a few rafts around this very low, simple raft, but it was a class 3 out of 10. 3 rafts flipped, but 2 women in their 60s and a 16-year-old were in these rafts, and they were just terrified. I'm like, but you're here. They're just like, oh. Like, but that was when I like went off to this corner where the water was rushing, and I had been so connected to rushing water. And I just and I felt connected to Mother Nature because that was how I didn't know how else to draw the line to connect the dots. And I prayed that I would get to be thrown out of a raft because I wanted to experience what it would feel like where it's really calm. As Sue put it on our trip, it's really calm under there because she swam under a lot because it was kind of treacherous. So I put that out there, and Lava Falls, the biggest daddy on the whole river. Tony and I were the last ones to go. I'll see if I can figure a way to put it in here. Tony and I were the last ones to come around. He's got the oars, and I'm riding rodeo up front. 1994. You see us come, we're at the lip. We don't even hit the ripple yet. Both raft tips like that, and we're both gone. I didn't get 1 second to enjoy riding on that rapid, which I want to do that again. So I want to do the whole canyon again. I didn't care if I was dirty. Oh, it was amazing. But that's where I found God. That's where I realized that was my aha. That was when I made this connection. And it took all of these people along the way that I've met meeting Alden in Sedona. I just had to meet him. We never hugged, but we were running away together. It was like you felt this connection at the soul level. We were running away together. All right, I'm going to get to the point because my life, it's in fast forward now. I'm done with the bridge. All the nuggets came through, and this is the big nugget. All right, so here was the question. Who would you be if you didn't have access to a phone and the unlimited potential that it opens up? And that's the question. Don't answer. Always put that stuff in the file folder and let it marinate. Because I am what happens when you just surrender to whatever you call the thing in the sky. I now call it God because God to me was like, what's this thing you guys talk about? But God was this thing that was so big that I had no comprehension for it. It was like, me, it's not mine. But when I, after this journey and finding what I found and making the connection that I did by letting go of every human being in my universe, literally, I have nobody. And now I do because my life has changed. I have two friends and I met a great guy who's a PCTer. And that's what I had to watch my Grand Canyon video with him for this egg to crack for me to open up that space. So the Grand Canyon that I went through, Tony, the guy who said, hey, you want to come on the trip? This magical book is dedicated to him and to all of the crazy people on that trip with me and just the miracles that opened up because that happened in 3 weeks from do you want to go to I was putting in on the Grand Canyon. And that is what started this whole mess for me. And I'm so grateful because I followed every arrow and every adventurous, crazy ass thing I can find. I do it. You bet I do. I'll put that at the end of this video as well, something I just found the video on. I love to just live out loud and have fun. And in doing so, letting go of people who held me back or said, oh, you can't do that, or oh, you can't be that. I just kept going. I'm like, and this I found out for the book as well. One of the final nuggets I had to find out. I found this spiritual journey. It'll be 9 years in the fall. Once I found it and I played with it and I tested the law of attraction, and I saw that when you go do it and you just trust it, it's magic. And then when you go back to life and then you go back and you play with it some more. And that's everybody that I met on this journey. That is their life. They do it when they go to the Monroe Institute. They do it on weekends. They do it when they're with their meditation friends. But then they put it back in the box until craft Sunday. But when I found the journey, when it cracked open, the first book was presented to me. I had my first aha with this language to allow this new stuff to come through me. That was when I was in surrender. I said, you take over. I don't have a name for you, but I said, you take over. And at that moment, I'm standing on a street in Puyallup and I'm like, wow, now what? Before I could even get the now what thought to come through, because I wasn't thinking, I was told, go that way. And the moment that happened, it was like, Jesus, take the wheel. I knew that I'd been trying, doing, planning, believing I had control my entire life. And I've had a few years behind me of doing that. And the moment I said, okay, let the big higher self take over, I'm just going to do the trust fall, go that way. And I've never looked back. When you do that, the path will tell you, you got to leave that job. How do you know? Because that person is pissing you off, or that guy does this, or you have a car accident. That's when you like, it's clear what you got to change. You follow that. And it's like, oh my God. Because sometimes you have to have a car accident in order for you to get it that your higher self is saying, hey, but you're not listening. I listened every step of the way. I left the husband, I left the kid, I left the dog, I left everything. I moved to Newport. I got sucked here. I found God. I wrote 7 books. The 7th book is done. And the last parts of this book are the biggest thing. Well, first, I've just shown that I'm not weird. I'm just somebody that found the path. And I'm like, okay. And I went on it and I didn't do it part-time. It became my life. And I wondered why people didn't do this because they were still doing earth and doing human and trying to put the two together. but they can't merge. You can't pull anybody with you. You didn't come out of the birth canal holding their hand and come on, we're going to stick together. We never did that. So during my journey, I just followed the spiritual path and it felt good. I was in alignment. And if I stepped out to do a favor for somebody who needed me, it's like, oh, wait, because they can do this stuff by themselves. And I was reminded, get back in your lane. I was like, oh, that feels good. And then I keep going. And then they're told, go hang with your sister. I'm like, eh. And then suddenly I find out I have no sister anymore. And then I'm back in my lane and everything feels good. That's what got me to Mount Shasta. That's what got me putting up a 6 foot fence around my house. Complete surrender and a trust fall with God is what I did. And I had no God, but now that's what I call it because that was the biggest name I had for it. It was like, you're the thing I could never understand. It doesn't matter what you call it. The gut talking to you, that is you, your higher self, your puppet master showing you the way. It's always showing you, but you're doing and you're on your phone and you're trying to human and trying to plan your future because people told you what you're supposed to do. And your higher self is saying, please go back to the ocean or the mountains or whatever does things for you. I am what happens when your spirit is free to become who you are. I still have the vessel. I get to drive it. I have like, I'm in my 60s, guys, and I'm getting younger every day. I feel better than I've ever felt. I feel 20. I'm on no medication anymore. I can eat anything I want, and I do, just not much. But when you realize that we are not that story that we're living, and this book's going to make so much sense 1,500 pages and 7 volumes, and it's just finishing up. And now I'm going to give you the final nugget. And this is really huge. Okay. Your generation, whoever you are, you grew up watching shows that show you people working on computer screens. It's like a big glass window, and they're moving the glass, and they're like, let's check this file out and open that. The Matrix, I don't know, shows like that. And these are shows that people watched as we have evolved over time, where I watched Bonanza Bewitched and then forecasting what's happening in the future. But the generations now, they watched all this AI and all this crazy stuff and Mission Impossible and just stuff that was crazy because the minds of the new generation and what the visionaries were seeing, clear words here, important words, what seers were seeing showed them this world, and they got to a space that I got to in this meditation where I landed against a wall. And in that moment, in this meditation, I knew, I thought, I am a robot. And I know I leap beyond that because of the hell I've gone through over the last 8+ years to get to this book that I had to write, which is the big story after the prequel, Man is Ruining His Own Nest. That has been sitting on Amazon, but I can't promote anything because I have been silent. I have 2 books on Amazon, but I can't talk to people on the phone. I can't do interviews. The bridge is now done. Imagine you're a 15-year-old that starts channeling and seeing visions, can't explain it to anybody. It's one of those things that they have the ability to do. And say it, they just have visions, they have an ability. And they have visions about the future and all this, but it's tied to our filter, our lens. My only lens was the limited bunch of stuff I saw on television, which was more fun and get smart and crazy than it is with the deep thought, twisted plot lines, like follow me deeply, just wild, intelligence driven as far as the mind can go. And that is, whether we believe it or not, we can do anything. We are unlimited. And I know that because I got there. So what has happened to the planet is those of us older who had the ability to know how it is to not have phones. But I know most of them, they have gone phone and they don't know how to live without it. So I give up on them. They'll never get here. But young people who've lived with the phone their whole life, whew, I really don't know how we're going to do this. But having that phone, living with that phone, that is an alternate universe that you're living in at all times. So if you are a young person and you're seeing that world and you know it feels off, it feels so off. You're like everything you're told to do. You're supposed to be that job. The poor two guys I just worked with my investment company yesterday. I felt so sorry for them. If I give them a bad number on a survey, they could lose their jobs because people would rather post on social media on Yelp that, oh, that company did this rather than go to the company and say, can we make this good? That's an aside, but I've had this experience. And businesses love me because I would never do that on social media. So during this meditation, the last thing that made me just lose it was when I saw a few days before this major download in the meditation, I had a bee hovering around me in my driveway. And it said, go get your phone. We need video. This was some form of an alien transmission from God knows where. I don't judge it. I don't label it. Just, it was just magnificent having a conversation with the bee that was just vibrating right here next to me. So I have videos of that in slow motion. It was magnificent. So that happened. Then I met this man on the PCT we watched my Grand Canyon video. It opened all that up for the dedication. But here was what tied it together. During this meditation, I developed a new ability because I have plenty of abilities now. And in this ability, laying down there, I saw this big folder, big box folder just coming down into me with a zillion little file folders, and they fall in hard, fast, and there's the download. The new ability was these folders, I could see them. It was like a screen in front of my face. And I was able to take a folder, pull it out, just like these movies. It was crazy. And I pulled the folder out and I was able to open it and move it like a movie in slow motion. And it like I was watching scenes. And then I would fast forward, then I'd close it. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And then I would go forward again. And then that's when I kept going. And you get to like, you see all these folders. And I kind of went through the folders and I got to the one I had to get to, which was what I'm talking about. So I open it up and I stretch it. And I show these people who have an ability. They can hear, they can see, they're whatever. I've had to develop multiple abilities. I've had to connect to my higher self, the thing in the sky, to know, oh my God, none of this is real. We are unlimited. We really are. We can manifest, create, and that's what I'm here to teach. But you also don't want what you think you want. So I am what happens when you achieve your ultimate potential. And I surrendered. I said, okay, I'm going to follow that path. And I just went all the way. I just went all the way. And there is an end to a spiritual journey. You get here, which drops the human story. It's like I went over the bridge and here's a crevasse. Everybody else over there. And I am on the other side of the bridge saying, hey guys, this is how you do it. So going through 8+ years of silence, of completely disconnecting from everything, being silent in Mount Shasta with no conversation, no sound. I've received this book and other books. And the last thing this one is saying is this about, so I have this ability now where I could do this. And it showed that people who have an ability and they discover what I discovered, this ability to do that, because I'm not a person who deals with AI at all. I know kids who are, and now they're going to know the answers. But this was something that came through me in a meditation as my download, as a spirit in a body that is still occupying this skin bag that I get to play with and drive around in now and really have fun now. It was that I am this person that let go of the human story, surrendered, went the other way, came out on this side and got all of this information, every bit of information you'll ever want to know about Earth, everything and everything. But this part was where our problem is. We as humans, we see this in a vision and we don't have the connection to God, to the other side. Because at that moment when I said, robot, because when I did that, I'm like, saw the correlation. I saw how people who don't have the other connection just get stuck there. And then it's like, okay, I'll just do it. But guys, you can't stop there. That is just the knowing of the magic of all that is. But you've got to get away from the technology. You have got to put the devices down. You've got to leave it behind. And don't pick up crystals. You don't need any spiritual woo woo crap. All you need is you alone, no partner, because their path is not yours. Get to the place in nature that you love, that place that makes you just literally leave everything else behind and say, all right, what's next for me? And that is when you're going to be at that place to where you now know that you're not going the right way. And so by you doing this, making the sacrifice to love yourself, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it and you're going to feel it and you're going to go after that and you're going to lean into it. And when somebody says, oh, but we need you, and you start leaning, you're going to feel the tug that your record is skipping. Get back in your lane. They can figure it out. So this friend that I met, he's on the PCT, and Mount Shasta right now is full of people in full garb for backpacking, sleeping pads, hike. And I look around like this is a resort town, and there's the mountain way over there. And I didn't understand until now. I thought they were here getting ready to go just hike the trails of Mount Shasta. But this is the PCT here. The Pacific Coast Trail comes through here. And right now it is the season because they start either north in Canada or south in Mexico, I believe, don't quote me. And they 50 a day get started. And so they're all passing through now. So this town is full of them. And so this guy's just a great guy. He's a chef, and I'm at research as well. And because now I know what they are. And so now I'm going to enjoy talking to them. So I could just imagine, and I'm going to go do it, not the whole thing, just a little piece of it. The people you want to meet in this life, in this planet, are people like the people you will run into on that trail. They are their own village. They are nothing like us. No, they're nothing like you. They're a lot like me. They need to be unplugged from everything that's going on. They need to be where they can just be who they are. They don't care if they smell. They don't care if they shower. They don't care if they wash their clothes. It's them, their tent, their life, their trekking poles. And there are angels who drive them to the trailhead so they don't have to walk and catch buses. That is something you can do. Just do Forrest Gump. Do something that gets you away from what's going on because you can't find what you're supposed to do because you're so busy in what's going on. But in our universe and the world we have created, there is so much going on in the world about we need money, money. We need to get streaming fees from everything. No, all that needs to go away. We're not a planet that wants to be paying subscription fees to live. And all that's going to just dissolve away. We're not a money driven planet. We are a love driven planet. And when you come from love, which is the space I live from now on this side of the bridge, you couldn't hurt anything. You wouldn't do anything dishonest because you cannot tell a lie. You cannot. You always speak the truth. And if you live in a world where everybody always speaks the truth, which is that world that we're going to, we don't need any law enforcement judges. Who would want to be a judge? Somebody that they get to judge people. No, that all goes away. In this new world, yeah, it's magical. So anyone raised and gets to the point because they have an ability that takes them to that seeing that, yeah, it looks robotic and I am now just, it's a virtual reality we live in. That is all there is. No, that's just part of it. The only thing that matters, because we now have a generation that has the ability to look at it that way. We didn't. That's all they believe because that's what comes through when you live from that lens. But when you remove that and get rid of the looking at videos and having your mind stimulated and allow yourself to reset, watching the waves or watching trees, then you'll slow down, close your eyes, and you will start seeing what you are supposed to be doing, not what's programmed when you're going on TikTok videos. You can't get here from there. If you're watching stimulating videos, if you're on social media, if you're doing any of that, you cannot get here. You just can't. So that was the last piece of my puzzle. Now the bridge is done. If you got to that space and you're like, oh my God, we are a robot, and that's where everybody's believing it and all the movies are reflecting it. No, that is what we are capable of. And there's no dark energy. There's nothing icky. That's just stuff you believe and you create in your little minds because we've allowed ourselves to create everything. It's only love on this side. And so you need to get away from everyone and get away from computers and devices. Go find an old camera, little radio, and go to the mountains. Do something, but get the hell out of life because you're going to see soon that these people are so lost in this reality. The herd has to be thin because we can't take people with us that are want more money because we don't need money. When you surrender, you get your gift, you show it to the world. And guess what? When you do that, you're provided for. You're showing off for me now, aren't you?